I'd like to open the Board of Supervisors meeting, please, for March. Have pledge allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody, to our Board of Supervisors meeting for March. We ask for all the attendees to sign in, please. You also know that the Board of Supervisors meeting is videotaped, and if everybody else is recording the meeting, could you please make it known now? Thank you. Comments by the audience and members on any agenda item will follow the completion of the board members' discussion of the topic. Please wait to be recognized by the chair, and then advance to the microphone and speak clearly and identify yourself. And suggest try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. If you go over a little bit, that's okay too, and we'll carry it from there. Appreciate that very much. Good evening, board members.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi there.
Everybody look at the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Any other comments on? I have one comment that was on the minutes. We had established a retreat, but I want to announce that the retreat is canceled. There'll be no retreat at all. I would like everybody to know that out on the in our audience and our taxpayers. The retreat has been canceled. I appreciate that very much.
I have a comment about the minutes. We need bigger print, less old guy.
Okay. And that's it for that.
You need a motion, Fred?
In just a minute, please. All right, so has everybody read all the reports, which are quite numerous? Okay, so I would like the acceptance of the reports and such an motion for the minutes and the reports to pass. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I have one quick postscript and a compliment to give to our roadmaster. There were terrible potholes on Paul Lemon Drive that I noticed on Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, they had been repaired. So I just wanted to give Nick Rapino a public thank you. He certainly deserved it. Thank you, Fred.
Okay, you're welcome. Any 2-minute reports? All right, payment of bills for treasurer, please.
As of, let me see here, February 29th of this year, we have a balance in our general fund of just over 2.8 million. And I reviewed the bills this afternoon, and everything is okay to be paid. I want everyone to know that the tax bills went out this morning, our real estate tax bills. If you have not received your tax bill by the 15th of this month, you are encouraged to contact Kyle Shirkness, and his contact information is on our website. Other than that, that is everything as far as the treasurer's report and the payment of bills. Once we vote on that, Fred, I do have one other thing that I want to talk about.
That's it?
Yeah, I have one other thing after we vote on this that I want to talk about.
Okay. Do I have a motion for payment of the bills and for the treasurer's report?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Fred, the other thing that I wanted to talk about as treasurer, I'm not sure that the board or maybe even the public is aware of this. Every quarter we have a committee that gets together and talks to a gentleman who is in charge of dealing with all of our retirement funds for managing our retirement funds for our uniform and non-uniform employees. And we met, was that a week and a half ago?
Yes.
And we were talking about, everything's fine, everything's good, we're in really great shape. But one of the things that we talked about, when we talk about our minimum municipal obligation, we generally pay that and put it into the fund once a year. Isn't that correct, Mary?
Correct, around October.
And we wait to do that when we actually get the money from the state. We gather everything all together, and then we, in one big lump sum, we then put it into the different accounts that way. One of the things that our money manager suggested was that we do it quarterly. And
Good
Mary
idea.
looked into this, and the only reason why I'm bringing it up is we've never done it before, and I just want to make you guys aware that this was something that the committee, as well as this man, thought that we should do. And I actually think it's a really good idea.
Well,
So-
if you think it's good and you're the treasurer and you brought it up, if you think it's that good, why don't you make a motion and see if the board
That
thinks
is
that?
what- Well, I just wanted to know if anybody had, before I made a motion, I wanted to know if anyone had any
I'm
questions.
sorry, I
Well,
was
why wait?
being
I
on that
mean,
committee.
we always
Okay.
wait, just make the motion and see what
Okay.
the board thinks.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we take the minimum municipal obligation from a one-year payment to a quarterly payment.
I'll second.
Is that a good enough motion?
Mary, you're all.
Yes, that's all right.
And Michael,
Is that gonna cause any problems
He
for
recommended
interest or
that, as
anything
long
like
as-
that?
You know,
he's-
actually, it will help us because we're investing our money
Quicker.
quicker instead of waiting till October, because right now is a good time to invest it. So doing this is actually going to help our pension plans.
Okay.
And it'll
Any-
get a better rate of return as opposed to it sitting in a bank account. It'll actually go into the funds themselves.
That's
So-
fine. Very,
Okay.
good job.
Thank you.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is announcements. I'm sure that I hope that a lot of you have been on the our website and too, but some things are going to disturb you and are going to be disturbing you as far as travel and roads and such like that, which aren't good. TE, Route 252 through Valley Forge Road from Knox Covered Bridge to Route 23, April 1st through July 31st. Valley Forge National Historical Park, Knox parking lot on Route 252 will remain open for park visitors. And also Yellow Springs Road is going to be closed too, from Route 252 to Wilson Road, including the Knox Covered Bridge. So be aware of that. And then the other one, of course, but it was canceled for today. Thank you, Madeline, for getting that out to me. Was Route 29. Scheduled closure for Route 29 in Schuylkill Township, Chester County, on Wednesday, March 2nd, from 9 to 3 has been postponed. The new release below will be issued later. The one-day operation will be rescheduled at a later date. So make sure that you try to keep up to your website, and we'll try to get it out to you so you'll know what's going on. Because I know you going to work and things like that, you should know about it. So keep aware of that, please. We try to keep you up to date on that. Like to have a pancake breakfast at the Valley Forge Fire Hall Saturday. That's this coming Saturday, March the 5th, from 7 to 11. We'd hope that we get as many people out there. Really good. They do a hell of a job. And look forward to a big breakfast and a lot of people coming out there. And again, to the Valley Forge people, the fire company, if you have children and everything, they're going to have an Easter egg hunt there on the 19th of March. 9:30 is registration, and 10 a.m. Will be the Easter eggs, and the Easter bunny will be there. And it's certainly nice and great for little children. And hope that if you do have young children, you bring them along and enjoy yourself at the fire hall. There's a bunch of great guys and gals that are there in the auxiliary, and they do a fine job for us. We also have a meeting of the Environmental Advocacy Commission, March 24th, at the Phoenixville Country Club at 7:30. It's going to be a really beneficial thing. They're going to talk about the environments of the township and what they're doing, such like that. We'd like to have as many people out there as possible. So please, Barbara, do you have anything more to say on that?
Oh, just,
Okay.
Jerry Odell is doing a fabulous job as chair of the Environmental Advisory Council and talking about various initiatives that are going forward, spring planting things and activities that they're engaged in. So I encourage everyone, you may be aware that the township receives 4 courtesy meetings a year at the Phoenixville Country Club. So this is we usually have 1 per quarter.
Oh,
And
you
so
said
this
that.
is the one for the first quarter of this year. Thank you. I do have one from the Heritage Center as well, an announcement.
You what?
An announcement.
You have another announcement?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, on wearing my other hat for a second, the Schuylkill River Heritage Center is hosting a kickoff event for the celebration of 300 years of iron and steel making. At the Heritage Center is located at the Foundry Building in Phoenixville. There will be representatives from 12 historic places around the county celebrating and telling everyone what they will be doing this year. It should be an extraordinary event. And actually, Route 23 has been the iron and steel highway, because the iron was first refined in 1716 at Pine Forge and went through, if you ever wondered about Nutt Road, it was named for Samuel Nutt, who was an iron master in northern Chester County. So it should be a really interesting event. There are flyers here if anyone cares to take any along, and there's no registration required, and there's no admission as well. So it's 7:30 on Tuesday, March 15th, at the Schuylkill River Heritage Center located in the Historic Foundry Building. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Barbara. I just remind my own colleagues, the Transportation Management Association is having their annual legislative breakfast on Monday, March 14th. If any of you would like to go, it's at the Radisson Valley Forge. So if you'd like to go, it starts at 7:30, registration, networking, 8 o'clock is the breakfast. Be very interesting to see what's going on transportation-wise, see what's happening. Okay, moving right along. Do legal matters, Bill?
Very briefly, Fred, we had our hearing in the Meehan Barn case, no decision yet. Kravitz matter, we're pressing for payment for the engineering expenses, which have not yet been fully paid. The Polo case, we're waiting for a decision from the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and that's about it. Thank you.
That's it today? Pretty good, thanks. Okay, Mr. Keller, you're up next.
I will.
First thing, I'd like to complain of a lack of podium that we had here for years. To me, it discourages people to come up.
Could you speak a little louder?
No, we can't hear you, sir.
Okay. Is it on?
No.
Is that on? Okay, I'm sorry. That we had a podium here for years, and when you take it away, to me, it discourages people to come up and speak. I have 8 items, but I'll be very brief on all of them. These regard to the mobile home park where I live. We have land telephone lines. The land telephone lines have deteriorated over the years, creating an emergency situation for the residents in the park who do not have a cell phone. Many times the phone service was not working properly. Verizon repairmen are in the park constantly, which is a matter of record. I, Jim Keller, I have a heart disease and I have a nerve disease, and I know I need a reliable phone service. That's number 1. Number 2 is the propane tanks, which are not set on solid foundations, creating a potential danger for an explosion. I know you came out and the fire marshal came out and looked at the situation. There's one tank across the street from me that's been leaning for a long time. It's going to continue to lean, and eventually it's going to go into the...
Jim, isn't that more or less the responsibility of the person that does it?
Well, actually, it's the responsibility of the park owners. It's their property. They're supposed to come in and see if everything is safe. I mean, if they care about their residents, they want to see, they've got to look at the sound foundation that these propane tanks are
Okay.
on.
All right, I'm just asking a question.
I tried to get the EPA involved, but they got no regulations with regard to
Okay,
propane.
all right, go ahead and continue.
Going on a little further, my next door neighbor has just put in 2 propane tanks, and they're right near the front of his house.
Okay,
Now, this
okay,
gentleman...
that's enough.
No,
Fine.
I want to go a little bit further. This gentleman has dementia. He shouldn't even be driving a car. He comes around the bend between 1st and 2nd Street, and if he loses control, there's a good chance he could hit the
Okay.
house and the tanks,
That's not,
okay?
okay. Go on with that, item 3 by
And I had already sent the police chief a letter about this situation.
Okay.
That somebody ought to talk to this gentleman before
Okay.
something drastic happens. You know, you get an explosion, a propane, liquid propane.
Okay, that's enough.
You
We
don't
heard
know
that.
how many
Go on,
tanks.
go on item 3 on the apartments on
Okay.
First Street.
Okay, there's apartment, 2 apartments on First Street, and they have only one exit. They are potential death traps. If there's a fire in the front of these homes, they'll never be able to get out of there. The guy that lives in one has a walker. He can hardly move. So they're going to be burnt to a crisp. And there must be some kind of regulation that prohibits this situation where there's only one exit at these apartments. Okay, number four. We still have the resident on Pothouse Road setting illegal open fires. Last week, the flames of one fire were 5 feet at least. These are 5 feet from the woods in the park. 5 feet away, and a few feet from the woods are homes. And if there's a fire, and he does this in the evening. I've seen fires there after 10 o'clock. He does this in the evening. He does it 3 or 4, well, he hasn't done it in the winter like he used to, but he used to, every 3 or 4 times a week, he'd be having a fire. And they're senseless fires. All he's doing, he has a fire ring, and all he does is burn wood. And one of these days, ambers are going to fall over, go over that fence, and they're going to set the woods on fire. And you got a lot of people that
Okay.
go to bed early, and a disaster is possible. And I want you to know that if there's any kind of suits because of injuries or fatalities, the township is going to be responsible
Okay,
too, not
fine.
just
Number 5?
not just the park owners. Okay. Number 5, we have sewers, one on First Street and one on Second Street, that are still not sealed, even though the Chester County Health Department says they should be sealed. Bugs get into it, odors come out of them. There's no sewer lid on them whatsoever. There's just a metal plate,
Okay, number 6?
And like I said, the Chester County came here and they told the park owner that these need to be sealed, but he hasn't done anything. Okay. Number 6, what I feel is a violation of the fire code. The new home on First Street is only 5 feet in distance between the new home and the back of the next home, the deck of the next home. To me, that's got to be a violation because
Okay.
you're talking about only 5 feet between from the deck to this other home. Okay,
Number 7?
number 7, we still have Miss Rose Ross, who lives on First Street. She's still feeding stray cats. And
I thought that was taken care of.
now, yeah, well, 2013, we had over 30 cats taken out of the park because of 2 women, one on First Street.
Call her
and
the cat woman.
And, but there's still a problem because the dilapidated homes are still not secure. And these homes are only 20 feet from the park. They are a breeding ground for cats. I seen a cat go in there one day. I mean, all he has to do is secure these 2 things. That's all he has to do.
Okay.
There's a panel out of the garage, and one of the homes on the bottom of the homes, there's about an 8-inch opening, and that's where the cats are going to get in. And we've had kittens already, you know.
Okay. Number 8?
Number 8, the 2 abandoned homes on Route 29, only about 25 feet from the park, are not secure.
What do you mean by not secure?
Not secure? There's an opening in the garage, there's a panel missing, so the cats can get in there. And like I said about the other house, there's an opening at the bottom of the house.
Okay.
Okay? And
Okay.
let me think here.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah.
Mr. Pfeiffer's, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Pfeiffer is not interested in solving any problems.
I think he is interested.
He is.
Okay.
He's not solving any of my problems. I haven't paid rent to him for over a year because he hasn't addressed the problems that I sent him a certified letter for.
I wouldn't say he's cost-oriented, then, is he?
And the legal aid, the senior legal aid told me that I had
Okay.
right to do this.
Okay,
This is what
Thank you
I've
for
done.
sharing your thoughts, Mr. Keller.
appreciate it.
We've given you ample time to go through
Well,
your
I
issues.
certainly hope so. What are you actually supposed to have up there? 3 minutes?
You've
Is that
had
the
more
way it
than-
is? Is that the rule? 3
Yes.
minutes?
You've had
Okay.
more than 3 minutes, Jim. You've
Thank
had,
you.
you've had,
Thank
about-
you for listening to my complaints.
you've had about 8 minutes. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Keller. All right, moving on in business, please. Would like a motion, make a motion appointment of Mr. Tom Heisey to the vacant seat on the EAC committee.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Just want
opposed?
to note that this is an alternate seat, it's not a full-time. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
that's passed, okay. Thank you. All right, the consideration of the EAC council is moving ahead with a project to name unmanned streams. I have a lot of questions on that I would rather bring up at the EAC meeting. I've written a number of comments on the piece of paper that came through with, on where it's coming from, like costing, when a waterway stream, what's the flow to call one? How do you determine if it's a viable entity? Or is there any cost involved? Is the engineer going to be involved? What if they dry up? Why not just report them? In naming them, why don't we, there's a couple of ideas I had too on that. I will bring these up at the EAC meeting.
Yeah, Fred, that was, some of those, not all of them, but some of those were discussed at the last EAC meeting, so.
Anyhow, well, it's not in here. Those things,
Yeah.
but I'd like the answers to them then.
Well, and just a comment on this, there's a certain amount of judgment involved in deciding whether a stream is really a stream or it's just a little trickle that's running through the field intermittently. Some of the intermittent situations may be given a pass, as I gather from Steve Kuntz's comments. But they're going to. My impression is that Steve is really interested in getting this done. It serves as a bolster for situations where we have a stream that's coming through a property, and there's a developer that wants to develop, and it doesn't have a name, you can't really refer to it, you just point to it and say that there's a stream. It could take on a little bit more importance if the stream actually had a name. So that was some of the thinking on that. So, you know, the other thing is that the township's natural resources ordinance contain a section on riparian buffers, and the riparian buffers are defined as being on either side of a stream.
Yeah, I know that.
And you can't do certain things within the first 50 feet and then the second 50 feet and so forth.
But that's of a pretty sizable stream too, Jim. I mean, you're talking about naming all the small streams. I think that's.
Well, let me give you.
Well, a couple of things also.
Yeah.
I know the county's very interested in this. Are they gonna do any help? They're thinking of a similar venture. I've heard them talk about that, especially in the one paragraph that's written up by Steve Kuntz, that the resolution support from the Board of Supervisors. What type of support do you want from us? I mean, okay, and guess it's okay, but how about the naming them after people that we do Founder's Day on?
The what, naming that?
Founder's Day, they're talking about naming streams. You say we have a Founder's Day,
Well-
like Peter Brown's wife.
Another thought that I have, it might be useful to name the stream in a particular geographic location for people who settled in that area as well. So you give it a name that relates to the geography.
Well, I think there's a number of questions still to be answered
So I
before we.
think-
Oh, absolutely, and that was what
And
was
that's-
brought up.
Yeah.
I mean.
It's a
all-
work in
yeah,
progress.
Yeah, and Steve was gonna be looking into, actually, he was going to look into the cost, if this would cost us anything. And who would have to be informed of this. So, I mean, this was just a thought that they wanted to do, a project that they wanted to do, and they wanted us to consider it and talk about it.
Okay.
And I don't,
I think it sounds like
You
an
know.
interesting idea, especially.
What is the
with
board-
regards to
that-
Jim was saying.
yeah, and I think when in Steve's memo to us, where he says that they will seek a resolution of support from the board, I think he's talking about once they actually complete the work.
Yeah, not.
And this is all volunteer work. This isn't gonna cost us anything
For
while
them to talk about
they
it.
name these streams.
Right.
So-
All Steve is really asking for here is a motion from the board to basically point to the EAC and authorize it to get started. And, you know, they will make it a project, and periodically they'll update the board.
They'll report to us.
Yes, exactly.
I'll make the motion to authorize the EAC to further the discussion on the naming of the streams appropriately based on their geography and content of water.
And they'll inform the Board of Supervisors if we're gonna start costing them any money.
Okay,
Right.
That's okay with me then. Okay.
So
I'll
we
second
need is-
that. I'll second that.
okay?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Still have reservations. Okay, next item of business is public hearing must be held prior to ordinance 2016-01, advertised ordinance to accept stop signs, locations, and various developments.
This is just for advertising, Fred, and it
Yes.
supports the issuance of citations for stop signs, and we found out there were a couple that weren't formally authorized.
I'll make that motion.
And
I'll
thi-
second.
Well, so everybody knows, though, there are stop signs and such in Valley Park, Pickering Glen, and Anderson Farm, so all of you know.
I have a comment on,
Sure,
a comment or question on this, Pickering Glen. Right now, at the eastern Trotters Drive entrance, there is I guess there is not a stop sign, but there will be a stoplight. There will be a stoplight because that'll be the continuation, it'll be an intersection with the new school.
That's right.
Okay, so if there's a stoplight there, why do we need a stop sign?
That's a
Because the
good
stop sign
question.
is there now,
Because it's there now.
and it's not in our ordinances. So in looking up everything for Valley Park, I went back and looked at the other developments in the township and found that there were two where we had not adopted
Okay.
an ordinance for the stop signs.
Okay, all right, so, but I would think that once the stoplight goes in, there's really no need for the stop sign, right?
At least for that one intersection.
There is gonna be
yes.
stoplight.
Okay.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right. All approve the motion's been made, it's been seconded. All in favor of the ordinance 2016-01?
For advertising, Fred.
For advertising.
Yeah. All right.
Aye.
So moved. Next item is business is for the Valley Park acceptance of documents closing out the construction of the development. Resolution 2016-10, acceptance of Valley Park Road right-of-way easements.
All right, Fred, if I might, Mr. Knox is here from the Bentley Home Company. As we recall, the Valley Park subdivision has been under construction and sale for, I guess, 10 years now, is that it? Longer than that. So finally, the sales are completed, and under the MPC, which is the law governing subdivisions, it's time now for basically a cleanup and closeout of the project. And part of that is that our engineers have been diligently working with the developer to go through the project and to make certain that the public improvements, largely the roadway Waverly Circle, is in good order for acceptance as a public road. And again, this process has been going on for months. There are documents that need to be signed, and we'll go through them one at a time.
Yeah, I saw them.
And the idea basically is that with the public improvements which we are accepting, there's an 18-month maintenance bond in the amount of
125,000, blah, blah, blah.
Right, and the purpose of the maintenance bond is to secure the proper functioning of the public improvements only in terms of their structural integrity for a period of 18 months. And if the board needs to understand that if in 18 months and 1 day the road collapses, it's on us and not on the developer. So that's how this works under the MPC. And we have, again, we will be returning the original construction LC to the developer and accepting the LC for the 18-month maintenance bond. There's a maintenance agreement, which I understand Mr. Knox has signed. There's an agreement for indemnification concerning what we hope is not a dispute relating to a basin at the site. There is a partial release of the mortgage on the property with respect to the roads that we're accepting.
That's right.
There's a deed of dedication. There's a standby letter of credit. There's a realty transfer tax statement of value. But the only action that the board is required to take is a resolution
Right.
2016-10, which is a
Right.
resolution of the board accepting dedication of the certain ultimate right-of-way areas and roads in the Valley Park subdivision. So have I stated that correctly, Mr. Knox?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So I guess we're looking for a,
Say you were pretty busy, Mr. Knox, getting these emails in.
A lot of paperwork. If I may also, there's one of the documents you just mentioned, we are waiting on the recorded version of that. That was the partial release of liens. I sent you the copy from the bank.
I saw this, right, okay,
Yeah,
so.
they have not sent the signed copy to Trident yet to actually record. They're waiting on it right now. It should be there any day. So
All right,
I just
all
wanted
right.
to-
That's not really a problem. If it is, we're gonna call you back in here and,
Not a problem.
okay.
Understood.
We'll call you back in.
All right, so we're looking for a.
Do we make the motion conditional upon receipt of that?
It's not a major problem, Barbara, and,
Okay.
we will, I don't think it'll be an issue.
Now we have the legalities straightened up. Everything also with Gilmore?
That's just what I
Yes.
was gonna
Yep.
ask.
Yes.
You're comfortable with
yes,
everything, John?
we are comfortable. We've reviewed everything, we've inspected everything, and I just want to add to what Bill said earlier. As we get close to the end of that 18-month maintenance period, typically 3, 4, 5 months before that, we will go out and we will inspect all of those public improvements again. And we'll be in touch Mr. Knox and I will be in touch with one another. If we see anything that has deteriorated in that period of time, I will advise him, I'll give him ample opportunity to make the corrections, so that as we get to that 18-month maintenance period, you will be then assured that you will
Absolved
have
of it, yes.
good roads and curbs
Okay.
and so on.
That inspection will
Yes.
not only include the roads, but also the culvert crossing the stream.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, it will. And
Good, Jim.
I typically do that inspection with the roadmaster. We do that together,
Great.
okay?
okay.
All right, so I guess first there should be the motion for resolution 2016-10.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
More discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Now, we have
What
your-
about for the 125,000? Do you have to have a motion for that?
Just 1 second, let's do one at a time. All right. And the value, we signed everything in black. I guess next time, tell them to do it in blue. All right,
There's
okay.
2 originals and 3 copies.
All right, just 1 second. I've seen this one's in the order, okay.
Do we have to make a motion with this?
Hold on 1 second. Okay, just a moment. That's the letter of code. Wait a second. Next. All right, this is the maintenance agreement. All right. Have been signed.
And the actual letter of credit, the original letter of credit's
Yes.
attached to the original
All
there.
right, hold on. Let's just take a look at it. Just a minute.
That's the original from the bank. And then the copy first.
Here it is, okay.
That's your original.
They signed, and it's definitely signed in blue. Good for him.
Yep.
All right, this, Mary, okay, next. All right, this, changed the engineers as well. Was it? Thank you. All right.
That's this one.
All right, that's correct. He's
Yes.
got the originals.
I have them all, don't worry.
Have them all? Okay, originally signed.
I gotta keep them straight.
Sign these, okay. Now, we have to pass a motion to accept or to close out the
Okay.
existing letter of
That's the
credit.
deed of dedication we're talking about now.
All right, Fred,
The draft
Yeah.
instead of
a motion is required now. We have received the new letter of credit from the bank in the proper amount.
Right.
So we need now to, I'm looking for a motion from the board to return the original construction letter of credit to the developer through Mr. Knox, which Mary has.
In the amount of 125,
Well,
260.97?
that's the amount that's left on it. The actual original amount is a little higher, but that's what has to be done now.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Everybody understand that?
Anybody make a motion yet?
They did. You can move a little faster.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's for a total amount, $125,260.97.
Correct.
Was that for that amount?
Reflect the handing of the LC to Mr. Knox. Okay.
What about the deed? Do we have to make a motion for that?
No, we'll take care of that and record it.
Okay.
I think that's it. Anything else?
Now, does that handle everything that needs to be done for Valley Park, Mr. Knox? You're- That's all I have.
Yes.
Well, hit that
Okay.
consent, that's it. Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you for coming out, Mr. Knox.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item of business is French Creek Business Park, number 3, a waiver request and final approval. Yes, sir.
I don't know where you'd like me to put this. While the easel's coming, good evening. My name's Mike Sodal from Wilkinson and Associates. Here representing the owners of our company, Ed and John Wilkinson, on their property at Lot 3 in the French Creek Business Park. Lot 3 is the last remaining lot to be developed in that industrial park there on Crescent Drive. It's at the very end of the cul-de-sac. And this plan received a conditional final approval several years ago. The Wilkinsons had kind of put it on the back shelf for several years because the economy wasn't right, and they lost one of their buyers for the property, so they let it They let it sit on the shelf for several years. Basically, the only remaining outstanding condition was getting ENS approval and an NPDS approval from the Conservation District. We have since done that, and we've submitted a revised plan to Mr. Sartor to review. He's gone through it. I think we're pretty clean. And we were in front of the Planning Commission 2 weeks ago with this plan, and they recommended that we get a final land development approval. As well as there was one waiver that was left from Mr. Sartor's review letter that we never requested, and we'd like to request that
Thank
waiver
you.
at this time as well.
Okay, the planning commission also sent in an approval for this too.
Okay.
Would you like
That's
me
what I
to
was
put the plan
asking.
on the easel?
I have mine. You can put it up there in case if people want to look at it. I have my copy here.
Yeah, I got it. Oops. That's okay. That's okay. I've seen it, so thank you.
So everybody's aware of what.
Yep.
All right, do I need to make a motion for that then? Make a motion
Nobody has any
for the.
concerns?
Hmm?
Any concerns on it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
John, you're comfortable with,
Yes.
with what is being put forward here?
Yes, yes, we are.
Hey,
There's also-
Mary's got.
There's also a waiver request with this too, not just final approval, but Mr. Sotol is also.
Should we do
presenting
two
a
motions
waiver-
then?
A waiver request, yes.
What is he looking for the waiver request?
You want to explain the waiver?
Did the planning commission look at the waiver request too?
They did.
They did.
Yeah, the waiver was for curb radii in the parking lot. The ordinance requires a minimum of 15 feet.
Yeah.
Essentially, the areas where we do not have a 15-foot radius are at the, and I'll, if I
Sure,
may,
go
I'll
ahead.
point them
Yep.
out. We're at the end of, at the parking roads. At the
Okay.
end of the row of parking, we have 5-foot radiuses in several locations throughout the parking lot.
Sure.
That's typical parking lot construction. So we're looking for that. There's two other, there's another place here, there's an 8-foot radius on the nose of this little island, which is in effect a little loading area to get into the building here. It's not in the primary travel direction.
Wouldn't cause a problem for a very large SUV, right?
No,
Okay.
would not. And then there's 10-foot radii around this little island, if you will, that protects the sidewalk and the entrance to the building on this side. So other than the end of radiuses at the end of parking roads, those are the other ones that we were asking for.
Nice job, Mr. Stoll.
Morris, the planning commission was all comfortable with that as well? I will make the motion for a waiver.
Waiver request and,
Second it.
okay. Motion's been made, it's been seconded. Any more discussion?
I
Jim?
think the motion should be for a waiver of section 503 point B.
503 point B?
503 point B of the saldo.
That's right.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, you've heard the motion and
As
the
amended.
number of ordinance. It's been seconded. It's been discussed. Any more? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. So moved.
That was for the final approval, right?
Yep.
For the waiver request, yes. That was for
It
the
was just for
waiver.
the waiver.
Just for the waiver, yeah.
Give her the number again.
503.
503 point B.
503B. Okay.
Do you want a
For the
motion on the
records.
final approval to it? All right, I'd like to make a motion then for the final approval for
Fred, you
the,
can't make a motion as chair.
oh,
Robert's
that's right, I
rules.
can't.
Actually, he can.
I can make a
You
motion.
can? Okay,
Yeah, I can make a motion.
whatever.
Why be chair if I can't make a motion? Go ahead and make the motion, Barbara.
Who's letting you make the motion?
Go ahead.
Let me explain that, but I hate
I
when
don't care.
my board is incorrect in any way. In larger bodies, such as Congress and all that, the chairman is generally not permitted to make motions. However, in smaller groups such as our group, it's customary and appropriate and lawful for the chairman to make a motion. So you're
Okay.
correct and you're correct. Everybody happy with that?
I was just proving to Fred that I actually read the Roberts rules that we approved in January.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead and make the motion, Barbara, for final approval.
So moved. For final approval.
I'll second it.
It's
Whatever
not-
she said.
I would make the motion that we grant final approval for French Creek Business Park, lot number 3, for final approval. So I,
I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So
Thank
moved.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, or Mike. Is there any additional business for agenda items?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, let's move into the next section. Public participation for any matter not on the agenda. Anybody come forward? Mr. McCurry?
Who's responsible for the potholes on Pot House Road?
The state.
State.
Okay, good. It's unbelievable. I've got, now, today, another tire blew out. Two tires on Schuylkill Township roads, and there's nobody will pay for them. Just wanted to let you know that. Peter Mercury, President of Pickering Glen Homeowners Association. I'm representing 48 homeowners. I have one question, too. Are the township minutes, are they public record
Once they're approved.
once they're approved? And how about the bills paid by the township? Are they public record?
Yeah.
Believe they
Yeah.
are, yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good. All right.
Once they're approved.
Because I requested them through a right to know, and Ms. Byrd stated specifically that they're not public, and I could not have access
That's
to
not
them.
true. Pete, she didn't say that. There was a letter that went back to you explaining all this. You can't.
Just today. Just
me-
today.
Should I
is it
explain it to
today?
you or not? Do you want to hear the explanation or not?
Okay. go
All
ahead.
right. Under the right to know law, you're allowed to request public documents.
Right.
Your question was, in words or in substance, how long has somebody been a supervisor? Well, you know, she gave you the information from her knowledge, but there's no document that reflects that. Now, if you want to come in and look at the minutes, you're invited. You want to come in and look at the bills, it's stored somewhere, but they will be presented to you. But when you ask a question that doesn't relate specifically to a document, then the staff has to guess as to what you want. Now, we answer a lot of these. We answer everyone fairly and completely. It takes a lot of time. But when a question comes in, like how long has somebody been a supervisor, there are different ways to answer it, but there's no document request. The right to know law relates only to documents.
Okay.
I say that respectfully, but go ahead.
All right, thank you. Now, is it public record, and is it documented when, I guess, they're sworn in at a meeting, township meeting?
There was
Is
the
that public
minutes.
record?
There's no, if you say, when was he sworn in?
Yeah.
There's probably a record of that, but, you know, I don't know when that was.
And I'm not-
So neither do you. But the point of all this is you got your answer. Ms. Byrd told you from her memory when this particular supervisor that you
No, I
apparently want
didn't.
information
I didn't
about.
get that answer. I did not get that answer. She did not give me any answer
I saw a
on.
letter that said,
No, you did
It was a letter
not.
that went to you that responded that my recollection of Mr. Colquitt being a supervisor was from 2002 to 2006.
When? I never got
That letter
I
was
got this
sent
letter
on
today,
February 26th, and in that letter,
February 26th.
in any event and as a courtesy, I recall that Mr. Colquitt was a supervisor from 2002 to 2006.
Oh, okay, I see that. Okay, good. Sorry, my mistake.
If you want it to, I mean, if Mary's not 100% sure, doesn't voter services keep that information?
I don't know, but he can send a request to them, they'll answer it, you know.
I think they may
yeah,
have that
I-
information.
We're not trying to
I just-
hide anything, it's just a matter
Okay.
of responding. We get a lot of these, Pete, they take a lot of time.
Okay.
And then when you fill out the form properly, you get a proper answer.
All right, and there's a reason for the questions, because there is documentation that he came to the board when he purchased the property and told the board that he was purchasing one of the lots. Okay, that's the reason why I asked. It's documented. Okay. I just have a couple words to say. This township has to change the way they do things. We can't get any help from this township. We came to you for help when the school was being discussed. You said, come to the meetings. We did. We wanted for you to give us some time to make sure that our issues were handled. You said no. We asked for a month. You basically said no. Full steam ahead for the school. Well, about a year later, more issues have arisen. We never heard anything. We see a farmer spraying pesticide on the Levin property. What did the township do? Nothing. The school has not been very upfront with us or others with anything either. Have you heard the term eminent domain before? We heard it several times. That's what the school districts threatened us with. They did a traffic study. They submitted plans to PennDOT. We never saw them until we heard about it. Now, we've got all this construction all over the place, and inconvenience. We've got trucks parking where our kids get the bus, but yet the school district says that they told these people. This happened for 3 weeks, okay? 3 weeks. You may not like it, but Pickering Glen owns the trail. Now we find out that the school is willing to put and pay for a driveway to be put in for access to the Lot A farm. We had discussions with the school, but not about the trail from Route 29, or a trail easement, or stormwater management, Levin's Basin, or a fence. Never heard a word. The school initially submitted plans that didn't include a driveway. Then they talked to Levin, and he negotiates a driveway, a new fence, $35,000, and yes, they were threatened with eminent domain too. But Levin was smart. He took the deal knowing that that was not his property. You may not like it, but Pickering Glen owns the trail and the easement. In the minutes provided by Mary Bird, Mr. Brennan, in 2011, it is noted that you acknowledged that Pickering Glen owned the easement. Not a public easement, the manager, Mary Bird, has suggested now.
The land under the easement is owned by the Levins and by you. The public has a right-of-way to use it. You own the land, the public has a right to use it. The township doesn't own it. That was the question. The question was, who owns it? We don't own it. We never owned it.
When we were battling Pulte, and we said that the trail was being put in, it was put in wrong. It was put in twice wrong.
That's
Mr. Sartor never checked to see that they put a membrane in that Miss Mary Bird suggested that they have to put in.
That was before my time. The township filed a suit to try to rectify that. The suit was settled. All of the settlement funds from the lawsuit were given to the HOA.
Yes.
But why didn't you acknowledge at that meeting, and it took 4
Acknowledge
years,
what?
5 years, now it's
Acknowledge
2015, acknowledge that it was owned, or it was a public easement. You acknowledged that. You asked the question.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You asked the question to our homeowner, our board member. So, Mr. Tom, do you own the easement? And he said yes. You said nothing, okay? You said nothing. You said nothing about the public.
What I say about ownership means nothing. The law decides who owns the trail and who owns the easement. My understanding is that the land underneath the easement is owned in part by the Levins. They own the land where the trail exists on their property, and the HOA owns the land where the trail exists on its property.
And
however, there is a recorded plan which provides public access to the entire trail. Now, I don't remember any conversation directly about this, but what I say about it doesn't matter. The law is that you own the trail in your section, the Levins own the trail in their section. However, there's an easement over the respective sections that allows the public to use the trail. And pursuant to the HOA documents, you have a duty to maintain the trail. Now, we've been going over this for 10 years.
And
I understand you're unhappy about that, but, when you purchased your lot, just a moment, you and the other members of your association accepted an obligation that the HOA would maintain the trail. I wasn't here then. I don't know why that happened, but that's how the project was designed and sold. And we understand that you want the township to take it over and take over the expense, and you've been pushing that button for 10 years. So
But
that's
we've
where
heard
we are.
this excuse now over and over again. And you know, Mr. Colquitt sat at our meetings, and we wanted to sue the township and the builder, but he said no. He represented himself as a Pickering Glen homeowner.
If you have a
okay?
problem with Mr. Colquitt, and you know, you can take it up with him.
He was a board supervisor. He was a board supervisor that was working with Pulte, and he was working with Levin's.
I've
Okay?
been listening to this for a long time, and at some point, I don't represent Mr. Colquitt, but at some point, he may get concerned about the things that you say in public about him, but that's up to you and him, okay?
You know what? It's all documented. I got the documents, okay? I went and got the documents. It's documented, all right? And you know, I'm not afraid of what I'm saying because I did my research. I went back and you know what, Mr. Brennan? If I didn't find out that Mr. Sartor didn't do his job, Mary Bird didn't do her job, because they allowed the builder not to put a mesh or a geomembrane in, I wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be fighting this battle. We'd still have that terrible trail that's sitting there. I had to go back and do this, and I did it years later. But I want to continue.
Excuse me, one moment. Pete, if you recall, and this is, so the public knows, that back when I first came on the board and Norm Butts was chair, we met with you and respected the concerns that you have. John Sorter gave a report on the pervious paving not being adequate at the time. And the township, so that all the rest of you understand and know the facts, the township paid for the repairs that were done to the homeowners' trail at that time. And we
When?
didn't have to do
When?
that.
When?
Thank you.
No, be honest.
I am.
Okay, when did you make a payment?
Pete, there were two payments made.
No,
One,
you know, that-
one
you're
payment was
totally-
the settlement of the lawsuit. The township took every dime from that settlement, gave it to the HOA, and after that, there was another payment made. Was it 25 or 35? I forget the exact number.
They were
That payment
compensated.
was made in connection with a repair to the trail. So you're wrong.
Whose portion of the trail did you pay for?
I think so to be carried.
Okay, because Levin's getting $35,000 for a trail that we paid for and that you suggest that you paid for,
If you're
okay?
unhappy with the Levins, you know,
I'm
you
not,
take it up
and
with the Levins.
this was
And-
not, that interjection
All
is
of
not
this,
appropriate.
all of this relates
okay?
to the development that's being undertaken by the school district that we have nothing to do with.
This interjection by Ms. Cohen is not appropriate because it basically says that you gave us money to finish the trail. Well, if
No,
you
I said
didn't
to
make the
repair the
mistakes,
trail.
I'm speaking, please.
Sure.
I'll let you speak. If you didn't make the mistakes of making sure that the trail was not put in properly, okay, we wouldn't be standing here right now. But you did. You should have paid for that whole trail, as far as I'm concerned.
You're embarrassing yourself.
Okay.
The documents say what they say.
This,
The people-
this township made the builder put
All right,
in
let's move
that
forward.
bad
Let's
move on.
surface.
Come on.
Okay? No, I'm allowed to talk. This
You're only
township.
allowed 5 minutes though, too.
Pardon me?
You've already been on 10, 15
Hey.
minutes.
I'm here, I waited, and I'm allowed to talk, and I won't be more than, 5 minutes. The township made the builder put in the bad surface. The township wanted that surface. Lee Ledbetter made them put it in twice. They put it in wrong twice. That surface that Mr. Ledbetter stated, they would put liens on our houses if we didn't maintain it. Oh, and we're supposed to maintain it, right? When it's in,
I think your home
This
home
township made us
association
put
said
in
they
that
would.
trail. We had to hire an engineer and attorney to make sure things were done right. When the Levin stormwater basin overflowed and washed out the trail, what did the township do? Nothing. Now he got $35,000 for the school district actually building up the basin the way it should be because of all the water we're going to get from this street now. We have had to live with noxious weeds, a dilapidated fence that was owned by who? You guessed it, the Levins. When people complained about it, even Yerkes is mentioned in the minutes discussing the bad shape of the fence. What did the township do? Nothing. Mr. Brennan, you stated that Pulte lied to us. Well, they're not the only ones. This township has made mistakes and lied to us. Your township supervisor, together with the builder and the Levins, Mary Bird signed the minutes. Mary Bird knew that Kim Colquitt was not part of the association. Why is it that you gave Lot A and Lot B 5 years to sign papers to deed restrict their property? But let me tell you something. Let me show you something. This was given to us. Mr. Sugarman gave this to us when we bought our houses. It said, and I maintain.
Mr. Sugarman, was that your closing?
That the township would maintain the trail. This was gotten 3 years later that states specifically that the homeowners would be maintain the trail. Now, who's lying? Okay? While the association was paying to maintain that trail that was not working and maintaining all that open space, Supervisor Colquitt, who did not pay dues or fees, was getting paid for cutting grass for the township.
You know, Pete, you're taking up everybody's time.
How many
And
years?
you are
How
being
many years was he getting
disrespectful to
paid?
the
And
public.
we're paid to maintain that trail.
You've been
the way it
bringing
was.
this up for 10 years, and it's the same nonsense for 10 years. The
Yeah,
documents
but
don't
see,
reflect
you
what you're
guys
saying.
never
You
did
guys what?
anything, and you're
You
still
guys
not
what?
doing anything. You never, and now, wait, I'm not done yet, okay?
Well, please move it on.
Okay. What about the driveway that Mr. Levin wants to put in across the trail now? Are you guys privy to that?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, well, let me just tell you.
I don't know anything about
The
it.
deceitful thing that the school district did, they submitted plans, okay, without a driveway to go through so that, you know, I don't know, a truck can go through to bale hay or whatever, okay? We never knew this. And then all of a sudden, it appears in the plans, okay,
Well,
that
that
are
belongs to the
submitted
school
again
district, not us.
to PennDOT, all right? Well,
We have
Mary
nothing
Bird
to
knows
do with
about it.
that,
There's a
Pete.
permit. PennDOT has a permit.
We have nothing
that
to
they
do with
apply.
that, Pete.
Okay, but when someone goes to get a permit, or do they have to come to you to put a driveway across that trail? Or do
It's
they
an
come to us?
That's an
Do they have
HOP
to
road.
ask us?
It's a state road, Pete.
We're not involved.
It's a state road.
What's a state road?
Pot House is a
Pot House
state
Road.
road.
Okay, so the trail now is a state road? They can just build a
Pete, that's
driveway
not what we
across
said.
our
Pete,
trail that we
are you
paid for?
finished?
That's not your question. The trail is, and they're breaking the trail through Levin's property. Not-
They want to put a driveway across the trail halfway in between our entrance and Route 29.
Why don't you contact
Okay?
the Levins?
Now, who do they come to ask if they can do that?
The
Us?
Levins.
PennDOT.
PennDOT.
Yeah, and PennDOT can just do that.
Yes.
And you're going to allow them. You're going to allow them, after
We
we
have
paid
no
$59,000 to put that trail in the right way, you're going to allow them. This township's going to allow them to do that. That's just unbelievable.
There are limits
That's
to
just
the
unbelievable.
patience that the board has with this issue. Are you finished?
Have you guys even thought about another way to allow this to happen? Right behind our property is a open space, okay, that Mr. Colquitt uses to bale his hay. His driveway, which has never been, fixed, is where he takes his, in and out, takes his hay.
What's he
There's
want
an
to do,
alternative.
what he wants
No
to do on his
alternatives.
property, he can do.
You need to make sure, we do not want this driveway, and you better not put it in. If we have to get an attorney, we're gonna get an attorney.
Be my
I guess
guest.
we're gonna have to, because you
Be
like
my
to
guest.
litigate, and you
Go
like to
for
make
it.
mistakes.
He's
Be
out
my
of
guest,
order.
Pete. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, Mr. Sartor, you're laughing. I wish that we had the same.
really.
I
You know,
wish-
Mr. Mercury, there are
I wish-
limits. These are public
Same
servants, but,
expert.
you are not immune from defamation
Put
for
in
your
our
comments.
trail.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Thank you. Let's go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, David Fagioli, Delaware Valley Paving, and I have a project underway at my property on Palm Road. And John and I met last week, and there was a discussion about some area that I had ripped out, some concrete that was broken up, and I'm replacing it with asphalt. And he had said, come in and at least talk about it, because it is outside the footprint of the area we talked about. But, in my opinion, and I showed John, and unfortunately I didn't bring the documents if you want to see them, but it was existing concrete and existing asphalt where I'm, you know, repairing. And, so that's why it wasn't included in the permit, you know, but it's something that I'd like to do as part of to use this property for my own, you know.
How long
business.
is the concrete been in place there?
The concrete's been in place, you know, since the place was built, you know, in the 40s.
So it's badly broken up?
Yeah, I planned to leave some of it in place and just park right on top of that, but you know, it was, when we tore the buildings down, it was just really irregular from the, you know, like, you know,
I've
pits
seen
and
no
all
problem
kinds of
with that.
stuff there. And then, there was a question, well, was it paved before? And if for some reason, I had pictures from the 80s when, you know, my parents' business was paving it. So it clearly was paved because, you know,
Sure.
at least that far back, so.
John, you see any problems at all?
Just to add to
Fill us in,
what Dave
please.
said, if you don't mind, let me give them a little bit more information. You recall the approval that you gave, you actually waived the land development. approval
Yes, we
for
did.
Mr. Fagioli. And he provided a sketch to you showing you the outline of where he intended to pave. We met, as he said, he's now proposing to relocate some of those parking spaces away from the portion of the site where you would come in off of Paulings Road. If you remember, he had parking stalls right
Yes.
up against the house. He is now suggesting he moves them to the side, which we think, I spoke with Mark Faulkner and Mary about it, and Mark and I went and took a look at it. We think that that makes a lot more sense because it gets people that are parking there out of the travel lane of cars coming in and out of the property. And in looking at the site with Dave and with Mark, he's correct. There are concrete slabs that have deteriorated. He is breaking them up. And so he is not changing the impervious coverage in those areas.
Fine.
Right, and so, and in installing the asphalt, what the depth will that cover the, I'm trying to think in terms of long-term and the asphalt lasting, so that,
Well, I'm gonna use the same detail that is approved for the, you know, the
so
parking lot.
you and Mark have
Yeah.
reviewed the
Yes.
specifications regarding
Yes.
the application of the asphalt?
And we will work with Dave on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you.
Can I just wanted to say something. My husband and I just drove past there. I have been there, seen it before. My husband hadn't seen it for a very long time. He just wanted to compliment you and say it looks really nice.
Looks so much better.
It does. It looks very, very
Well, very
nice.
nice.
One
Yeah.
one last thing, if I may. We also talked with Dave, just to make sure that there are no surprises for anyone. We wanted to ask if we could get just an update to your plan, showing what the overall, what the site's going to look like in its
Yeah.
final condition.
I think we showed it.
And to ensure that there is no additional grading being done, because if you recall,
Right.
that's a floodplain area.
Exactly.
So I explained to Dave, he can't change the elevation of the ground
Right,
surface.
we went through that.
Yes,
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice job.
I'll send that, once I revise that parking lot.
you,
Okay,
Dave.
thanks.
Thank
All right, anybody else?
My name's Tommy Sahula, and I'm at 94 North White Horse Road. I got a couple pictures for you guys of the water runoff between the yards, between 74 White Horse Road and the house on the corner, which is actually Oakmont Lane, which, I don't know, I see it as a major problem when you go to put sidewalks in. I have a right to know request. Has the total cost for the feasibility study, has the cost come in for what the sidewalks are gonna be yet?
It's not,
No,
Not that I-
they have
It
not
says
been
it's gonna
received.
be in March in the
It
flyer.
has not.
it has not come in yet.
Any idea when?
We're looking at this point, probably April. They're still working on that.
Okay. And then, I also went, and walked and banged on the houses on North White Horse Road. I counted 15 houses. One was empty. The elder gentleman had passed away. I think that place is for sale. Nobody was there. 4 houses I got no answer from when I banged on their doors. On North White Horse Road, I got 10 votes out of 15 houses saying no to the sidewalks. The residents have spoken. 11 houses on Second Avenue. I only did, if you're heading towards Phoenixville, I only did the left-hand side of the road. I didn't do the right-hand side of the road. Four houses were no answer. I got 9 votes for the side, nine no votes, 2 yes votes for the sidewalks. Again, a majority say no. I also went on South Whitehorse Road, 2 where on the map that we got says East Phillip Drive. 11 houses, 4 no answer. 1 house looked like it was abandoned. The shops weren't open, so I couldn't talk to anybody there. I got 10, I don't know what I got. I got these numbers are wrong. Anyway, if there was, it was a majority. There was 1 yes and the rest were no's. So at any rate, all the signatures are here, as you said, Mary, signature, signed, and I want to present that to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
If the board,
Along with his, I have also
And then on the back
signatures.
of the pictures are
You want to turn them into?
an explanation of
And
what
here's
What,
yes.
how, were you, what road are you from?
My name is Linda Glass. I live at 85 Clayona, and like Tommy, I walked Clayona. I did not get every single house because some of them I went to 2 or 3 times, Saturday mornings, Monday at dinner time, thinking I could get them. Some people didn't answer their door for whatever reason. I think I had 2 persons say that they preferred not to sign any, either way. But I do have copies for everyone, including the originals, signatures. I believe if you count them, there were, I believe, 5 folks against, excuse me, 5 families that did want the sidewalks installed on Clayona, and a total of, again, maybe 17 or 18, you'll have to count them, that were opposed to having sidewalks installed. I did this because I felt that since the majority of the residents felt one way or another, that should come to bear on the decision for the sidewalks.
It sure should.
Most of the people, I believe, sitting up here are elected officials, and when we vote for you, I would like to believe that I'm voting for someone that cares for what the residents believe and feel. So, with that being
Well said.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the time
Here's
to
the
visit your
originals.
neighbors. We do respect that.
It was interesting that many of the neighbors said that there were 3 in particular that said they had no idea. They would love to have had more information, and where could they get that? I
But
don't
it's
know
been
from their
advertised,
meetings.
public meetings of all along.
There were people that said, gee, was that in the newspaper? And I said that I didn't believe it was because unfortunately I don't get a newspaper. There were, I think, 2 people that
Thank you.
chose not to sign because they felt that they needed more information before they could make a decision. Unfortunately, I
Thank
think
you.
that the majority of the discussions have already taken place.
Well, and the point is, a feasibility study is just that by definition, to find out if something is feasible, whether it is the geography, whether it is the water, whether it's rights of way, whether it is in terms of the people who are living in that area. Those are all things that we need to consider.
I would like to believe that our system works and that our elected officials listen to what the majority says.
I agree. Very well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for both of you for.
Thank you for your patience
coming
also
up.
in waiting to present your
Appreciate it.
materials.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Donna DeFrancisco. I live at 524 South Second, and I just want to back up that we are very much against the sidewalks. Our homes, especially South Second, is wider up by the development, and then it has a tendency to get a little narrower, and our homes are very close to the road. So, and my sewer pipe is probably 12 feet from the roadway. So I really can't even think that that's a feasible thing. And my main concern is we've lived there for 38 years. There is no lighting. When you walk outside in front of my house for 38 years in the dark, you can't see your hand in front of your face. It's always been dark back there. We like it like that. And we, you know, when you're talking the sidewalk with people traveling on it, it would be extremely dangerous.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for sharing
Yes,
your
sir.
thoughts also.
My name is Steve Fossbender, and I am a resident at 178 North Whitehorse Road, so I am a signature on there, but I also wanted to come today and be the individual that lives there, and I also want to, I guess, state publicly that I do not recommend sidewalks on Whitehorse or 2nd Avenue. I have a few concerns, much like everyone else, about liability. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before. You talked about with a few of the other agenda items about incurring costs for something that you didn't put in or you didn't want, and I'm concerned about that myself as far as upkeep, having to maintain that, being on the corner. If you do in fact go Whitehorse and 2nd Avenue, wow, I'm so nervous. I get double impact. I get both ways, so not really interested in that. Also, don't particularly see the benefit outweighing the cost, because no one walks up and down Whitehorse as it is. Very few people, and usually there are more folks, walk up and down or run up and down 2nd. So I just don't see the benefit of incurring costs, raising people's property values and taxes for people that may not walk the sidewalks. I think one other thing I wanted to mention, well, you mentioned the feasibility, and I appreciate that, because I was not aware that that would take the homeowners who live in those properties into account. I don't know if we would be questioned in any way, shape, or form. But I think the thing I kind of wanted to close on is that if this is being done for the betterment of the community, I feel like it should start with the community that it impacts the most, and make sure that we're okay with it before we start thinking about everybody else. So I think that's all I had.
Well, in terms of the feasibility study, the intent of the Schuylkill Freedom Trail to connect Valley Forge Park, who are partners in this, to the Schuylkill River Trail in Phoenixville. Again, that's a feasibility study that will be done in phases. And the feasibility study encompasses how can we get from point A to point B. Along the way, we found out that there was no access to the McAvoy Brick Company going along the river to connect to the Schuylkill River Trail, nor federal law prohibits being along the Aqua property for security reasons. So we're trying to figure out a way to make our township a little more walkable. And doing so, Jim Morrison came up with the idea of the sidewalk study and combining the study area for the sidewalks with the Schuylkill Freedom Trail, because the funding was in place for both. So what the feasibility study encompasses is the physical characteristics, the impediments to creating a trail, the cost of moving one light pole along Route 23, for example, all of these considerations, plus the thoughts that you bring to the table. So I just want to point out that the township was not trying to infringe on anyone's property rights or privacy rights, but the idea of making Schuylkill Township a bit more walkable seemed like a very positive thing to do.
Okay, and I hear that. I just wonder if only putting them in the areas that you're looking at is really making it more walkable. You're doing it in some spots, it seems, but you're not necessarily making it walkable at large.
If you come to, we had really, from the consultants, and Chris Green, who works for Gilmore and Associates, is superb at having figured out different phases that would be done with the Schuylkill Freedom Trail, okay? and I forget the name of the consultant for the sidewalk study, but that entity was equally thorough in how they were trying to figure out, again, how to get from point A to point B. And I appreciate, we all appreciate hearing from all of you to understand your feelings. Conversely, I want you all to understand this was not done to infringe on your properties. It was, the whole idea of this is to make the community more walkable.
If I could just throw in some comments if I could on this. First of all, any given section, and let's take North Whitehorse as an example. Well, backing up, this sidewalk study, it was designed in segments just for the purpose of looking at parts of it without having to deal with other parts of it if need be. And also facilitate prioritization, possibly over time. So the basic point here is if we've got a situation where we've got segments of sidewalk that are not going to be necessarily that heavily used by the residents that face the sidewalk. Some will very likely use it, but maybe some won't. But the benefit is that it allows folks from either end of those segments, and you could be talking 3, 4, 5 blocks away, that could walk streets that are lightly traveled, basically neighborhoods, without a sidewalk. But then when you get to some place, for example, like Anderson Avenue, which I think we all know is a pretty heavily traveled, almost a speedway. We felt it was necessary to have a segment of sidewalk in there for walkability, safety. So anyway, the sidewalk segments are not there to serve only to serve those folks that face the sidewalk. Okay, it's to serve also the folks that live in either direction and walking in either direction. So that's the bigger picture. So that's the main point I want to make.
So I suppose you have a study that says if we do this, these people will walk them. Like who are you accounting for and saying are going to walk those sidewalks when we pay the money to put them in, and then I have to pay to remove snow, salt them, there's no lighting, repair them. These are the things that, as a township, we don't have to pay for the roads. I forget the earlier thing that was something's coming up and we might have to take a look at it to make sure we don't incur any costs for maintenance. Well, I don't want to either. Unless the people that are going to walk you want to help me, I don't want the costs.
Put a toll booth.
What's that?
Put a toll booth.
I'll do that. I'll put up.
Well,
There's probably a reason I can't do that.
There are different aspects. There are two, it's apples and oranges. I just want to clarify something, Fred. Sidewalk study is one study, okay, paid for by DBRPC. The Schuylkill Freedom Trail is a different study altogether. And it might be that certain phases, if we anticipate getting easements from the Freedoms Foundation and the University of Valley Forge, it might turn out to be a loop trail that gives people access to the Medal of Honor Grove so that they can come from the park without getting in their car and driving a half a mile.
I know I'm being...
And that would be, so this is all of these considerations are part of what is it going to cost for phase 1, phase 2, or something else. And so because it came up at a public meeting that we had in early February regarding the Schuylkill Freedom Trail. Someone was complaining about costs.
We're talking about sidewalks, not trails.
Well, there are two different studies, Fred.
I know there are two different studies, but we're talking about sidewalks,
about the sidewalk.
not trails.
I wanted to educate.
We're talking about sidewalks, not trails.
Fine, okay.
If you were telling me that the sidewalk was leading to an access to that trail,
It's possible.
But even
No
still.
way.
I assure you that we will consider the majority thoughts that have been presented here this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary, I actually have a question. I know it was discussed, and I can't remember which one of you just asked about this, and I apologize for not remembering who said this. Do we have the maps up online yet, or are we waiting for the studies to be done?
We have what was presented at both feasibility studies up on our website.
Okay.
So they're there.
Okay.
So they can take a look at it. What we're waiting for now is the feasibility studies for both the sidewalk and the feasibility study for the trail
Mhm.
to be finalized so that we can see those numbers and
Okay.
see what is going to be
Okay.
presented then to the board to then make a decision on.
Okay. Somebody
Once-
had asked about the location of something, and I don't remember who asked that, and I just wanted them to know that that is up on our website right now.
When we do
Okay.
get those feasibility studies, they again will be put on our
Okay.
website so people can view them.
Good.
Right.
Prior to the board making a decision, they will be up there.
Good.
If I could just add to the conversation here.
I think in summary, first of all, I'd like to.
We got somebody new standing in front of us here. But one of the things that we're gonna look at is, do we need to build every single segment that's on this grand plan, okay? So I'll just make that statement generally speaking. One of the considerations obviously is cost, and cost over some time period. Obviously, the more that's built, the more costly it is. So we're gonna be looking pretty hard at that.
As well as the grants that would be available. Fred, I just have to add one little postscript. The cost of the Schuylkill Freedom Trail was $60,000. Most of that, $45,000, was in grant funding to the township. The township paid $15,000 for that study to be done. And with our population being approximately 8,600, that study cost our taxpayers less than $2 a person. That's all I wanted to share. That's a fact. So doing the feasibility study was worthwhile.
Yeah. Try my $2 back.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Folks, we've had some lengthy discussions from both the public and the board. In summary, though, to wind it up a little bit, first of all, I thank the citizens or their taxpayers that have come out and had the wherewithal to go out and get these signatures and everything. Thank you very much for what you've done. What Barbara said is true, and I think it's got to be understood that we did receive grants for it, and it didn't cost you money. We did have these feasibility studies because some of my colleagues wanted to pursue the idea of sidewalks and further on the trails. And so that's all it is right now. That's all it is, folks, right now, a feasibility study. We've heard from you, we hear you, we're going to take it into consideration. You will have a chance to talk again on it. So please don't feel that you're being left out or anything like that. If you go to the website, you'll find out if is there any more meetings for feasibility studies?
Not until we do the one with the board with it.
Okay, so
and that
we'll
will be
let you know then when anything else is going on. But we do appreciate all your input. Okay, yes, ma'am?
Would that be on the agenda for a regular monthly?
Probably, yes.
Yep.
Yes, they will.
Yep. We'll get all the numbers in.
Yeah. All right.
Mr. Keller.
Yes, I'd like for my own information why the township made no attempt to stop the school district from building the school.
Oh, please.
They made no attempt. They gave up this beautiful scenic area of open space, never did anything. They didn't represent the people that live in this area that are going to be affected, their lives are going to be adversely affected by the gridlock that's going to happen in this area with another 1,200 people in this area. When I questioned the superintendent, and I also brought it up to the board, what's going to happen if there's an accident at Pothouse Road and 29 at peak traffic times? Within 2 minutes, that whole area will be covered. How are they going to get emergency vehicles down to that area? And people, if they can't, people are going to die.
We'll get there.
Yeah, that's what you say. How are you going to get there?
We'll get there.
Yeah, you will get there. You sound like the superintendent.
You
We'll
had
get there,
an
right?
adequate amount of time, Mr. Keller. Thank you for sharing
we don't
your
want to get into a
thoughts.
lengthy discussion. Okay, yes, ma'am. All right.
You know, I wasn't planning on saying anything tonight. I did want to speak to John regarding some of the problems that we're having with water at the bottom of Meadowbrook and Pot House. But as I sat here and following up on, thank you, Jim, what you said, you know, the people here tonight coming with petitions about the sidewalk study, and you're saying you're listening to their concerns and so forth. You know, think back to November 5th, okay, over a year and a half ago, and this building was overpouring with people, okay? There was no standing room for people. We had petitions of well over 100, I can't tell you exactly at this point in time, but petitions signed by people who did not want to see that property rezoned. So you're sitting here and talking about how you take residents' concerns into consideration, how it's going to impact their lives with sidewalks, yet when it came to the school with hundreds of people and so many people against rezoning it, build the school but not the mega campus, we were dismissed. And that very night, you sat there and voted to rezone. Didn't even take another week, another day to consider it. So,
Thank you.
You know what that does to me? Know how I feel when I say, oh, okay, hopefully you people won't have the sidewalks put in that you don't want, because we got stuck with a mega campus.
Can I answer you in a respectful way? One sentence. All I'll say is looking at the children in the township and the consideration of the school district is much better than having a mega development. That's all.
You know, Barbara, you don't live across the street from that. So, you know, we've been through this before. Where you feel that you have the right to say what you feel is better for us, whether we would want a development there or we want a school. And again, time and time and time again, from the very beginning, the residents who are being affected by this had said, we understand the need for the school. And that was the main purpose of this, was for education. And now we have this campus full of athletic fields, turf fields that they want to put in, which all of you have been made aware of the dangers, potential dangers associated with that. Okay? I mean, this has mushroomed from a much-needed school to get East Pikeland kids out of a trailer and dilapidated building to this huge campus that has just been out of control. It's totally out of control. And you talk about listening to residents, and that did not happen. Go back and look at those videos. That very night, one of the last people who got up and spoke said, please, take some more time. There were people out in the atrium that they didn't have a chance to voice their opinions. But no, you couldn't even do that much. Couldn't even give this, people the right to be heard. We had petitions. Oh, wow, you got 17 signatures. We had over 100. Didn't mean crap, did it?
Thank you.
Sorry.
How do you know there would be a mega development there? Why wouldn't the township buy the open space?
We're not in the
Don't tell me. You have
All right,
one open
you're not
space.
supposed to be outspoken on. Okay,
I make a motion, we go in executive session.
Second.
I even didn't ask for it yet.
Do what?
Go in executive session.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You're gonna have crumpets.
5-minute recess. I'd like to bring the Board of Supervisors meeting back in order, please. We had an executive session on litigation and on personal issues, and there's no motions to be made such, so consequently I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn the Board of Supervisors
Make
meeting.
that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So move.